Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Greg Wilmoth. We begin tonight with really a heartbreaking story that's left many people with just a lot of questions. Investigators say a mother killed her 5-year-old twins before she took her own life by jumping off a bridge into the water on the 417 in Sanford. Tonight, we're walking you through the latest in the investigation and talking to a local psychotherapist about the events that unfolded in our community today.
There's a lady jumped out of a vehicle into Lake Jesup on 417 in Sanford.
Calls started coming into 911 around 8:40 in the morning after drivers saw a woman jump off the State Road 417 bridge into Lake Jesup. Deputies say that woman was Kateria Hutto of Sanford, a mother of 5-year-old twins, Ava and Ahmad, who were later found dead inside their home.
They went into the house and found the two children in bed who appeared at first to be sleeping, later to identify that they are deceased.
Sheriff Dennis Lima says they were killed by their own mother before she took her own life.
So there's a lot of unknown answers right now.
That includes how the children were killed. Deputies say there was no trauma to their bodies or blood. It did appear at the home the family had been struggling. Deputies found little food and furniture inside the home. It was a home that Hutto and her kids moved into last summer thanks to Habitat for Humanity. We also learned the twins had not been in school since last Friday, and there was no history of violence at the home.
I hope that we can band together and help, because this is absolutely heartbreaking.
The tragedy has left many in the community and in the Sanford neighborhood where the family lived in shock.
A person really has to be mentally gone to do something like that. I know she loved her kids.
Sheriff Lima says as they work to answer why this happened, there needs to be more focus and resources, he says, nationwide for mental health.
We want to make sure that people know that there's help out there. There's resources out there. There's people who are willing to fund, to love, support, and trust, to lift families up so they don't have to experience it. And it's examples like this that should drive all of us forward to get people the help and the services that they need.
Of course, all of us are feeling confused and saddened tonight for what happened here, but were there some things that could have indicated a problem? A local psychotherapist listed 3 common risk factors on her website for suicidal individuals. They maybe have a history of mental disorders, inescapable crisis, a prolonged isolation. And joining me now is Dr. Janie Lacey, who wrote that on her website. You have done a lot of television and outreach, not just here locally, but nationally. But this happened in our own backyard, and it's jarring to us. How should all of us feel about what happened to those twins and to that mom?
Well, this is devastating. So we think about not only what happened to them, but the people who were affected in their circle, their friends. They're probably replaying in their mind, were there signs? Could there be something I could have done? And so we understand this vicarious trauma, the people who are most close, as we are also watching and listening to this story. It affects all of us in some sort of way. So people feeling sad and kind of ruminating and thinking about it, or even reflecting on someone that they may have known that committed suicide or has had suicidal thoughts.
We don't know if there was a note left. We don't know a lot of things. We actually don't know more than we do in this instance. I did see on your website those few risk factors that are common. Is it likely that it's going to be something in there?
Most of the time, when people are looking back in hindsight, they can see the signs. But going forward, most people don't want to bother other people. Oh, we know that she is stressed. She has lots of kids. She's working multiple jobs. Right? We hear ourselves making these multiple excuses as to why we don't check in on people. But it's usually in hindsight then people can say, well, she was isolated, or, she was having financial challenges, or she always seemed like she was moody or stressed, right? So those would be some common signs. So if you know someone that is moody, or they seem stressed, they have a lot of different moving parts, different types of crisis in their life. It's not the time to back up. It's the time to actually check in on them. And perhaps the best advice I give people is to give something specific that you can do versus, is there something that I can do for you? No. go ahead and think about the basics. Could you provide some food? Could you help someone clean their house? If there's children, could you drive them to school? So the best thing that we can do, especially for single mothers who may be carrying a lot of stress, is specifically taking things off of their plate and making something a little bit easier for them.
So that deals with the circle and those who immediately knew her. But what about the people that are watching this and saying, gosh, I'm in despair right now. What should they do? What can they do?
The first thing I would say to that person that may be watching this story is that they're not alone. Because what happens is people feel so much shame, so they isolate themselves. And that shame makes them not want to ask for help or let people know that they're struggling because they feel like they have to survive whatever they're going through. So if that is someone who's listening or watching, you're not alone. And if you just understand that there are people that cost nothing to help you get over to the other side, it does get better. But it's hard when people are in that moment to understand that and to feel that because they feel hopeless and they don't feel like there's any other way out. And that's why it's important for us not to judge those that have suicidal thoughts or have death by suicide, because it's easy for us to judge it because we can say, well, there are resources, or why did they not reach out? And I would like to tell people to not do that. What we can do is that if they know someone that may be isolated, that may be struggling, or if someone's listening to our message, they can dial 988. They can reach anonymous websites, or they can go to a local church. There are so many different ways that people want to help. People want to help, and it's important for them to understand that they're not a burden, and they're not in a place where people don't want to help them. There are people that do want to help them, and they matter, and that's important to let them know that.
Again, thank you to Dr. Janie Lacey. Great information. If you or a loved one are in crisis and need help, I want to put this back up for you. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline provides free and confidential support. It's 24/7. You can call or text 988 and you'll be connected to mental health professionals who are ready to help tonight.